My boss fired me for missing work. After my nephew's hospitalization said, "He's not even your kid," my boss fired me. Then I saw her car parked outside my house late at night. My world tilted. Was I losing my job? Or my whole life? Hey everyone, welcome back. You are not going to believe what happened to me. I thought I was a dedicated employee, a loving aunt, a supportive wife. Turns out I was just a pawn in someone else's twisted game. Imagine getting fired for missing a shift to be with your sick nephew, only to uncover a secret affair and a sabotage scheme right under your nose. Stay tuned, because this story is about to get real. And trust me, the payback is going to be so sweet. You won't want to miss this. The fluorescent lights of the warehouse hummed, a sickly yellow glow that did nothing to soothe my churning stomach. I'd rushed back from the hospital, my sister's frantic voice still echoing in my ears. Little Leo, barely 5 years old, was in the ICU. They weren't sure what was happening to his heart. And Mr. Harrison, my boss, had the audacity, the pure, unadulterated gall, to look me in the eye and say, "He's not even your kid. We needed you here." Then boom, fired, just like that. What would you do? Would you beg? Plead? I just stood there, numb. I reread the reason. Unscheduled absence, negatively impacting warehouse operations. Lies. I'd called ahead, explained everything. Mr. Harrison had even sounded sympathetic, or so I thought. The rain hammered against the windows of the break room. It mirrored the storm inside me. I felt hollowed out. Then a glint of something caught my eye. A half-open manila folder, carelessly left on Mr. Harrison's desk. My curiosity, or maybe my anger, got the better of me. I peeked inside. It was a list of recent shipments, handwritten with odd notations beside several entries. Priority 2. Hold for review. Contact JT. JT? My husband, Jason Thompson. What on earth was he doing involved in warehouse shipments? The weight of that folder, the cold fear that gripped me, was something I'll never forget. I quickly snapped a photo with my old digital camera, a habit from better days, before replacing the folder exactly as I found it. What would you have done in my position? Ignored it? I couldn't. Not now. That evening, Jason was unusually quiet. He picked at his dinner, avoided eye contact. "How was your day?" I asked, trying to sound casual. "Fine," he mumbled, shoveling food into his mouth. "Just fine." "Did you talk to Mr. Harrison today?" I pressed, my voice a little too sharp. He choked on his water. "Harrison? Why would I talk to Harrison?" His eyes darted around the room like a trapped animal. "Oh, I don't know," I said, trying to sound playful. "Maybe because you're JT and your name is scribbled all over his shipment records." The color drained from his face. "What are you talking about?" he stammered. "Those must be different initials. There are a million JTs in the world." But I knew. I saw the truth in his eyes. He was lying, and that lie felt like a punch to the gut. I knew our marriage wasn't perfect, but I never imagined him capable of this. Of what exactly? I didn't know the full extent yet, but I was determined to find out. I told him I was going to help my sister at the hospital and would be staying with her a couple of nights. The security was lax, as usual. I knew the codes, the routines. I wasn't officially an employee anymore, but nobody seemed to notice me slipping back into my old office space. I started with the files, the digital ones. Harrison's email account was password protected, of course, but Jason's. Jason wasn't exactly a tech genius. I tried his birth date. Success. The emails were damning. A string of messages between Jason and Mr. Harrison, detailing a scheme to mislabel shipments, divert them to a private holding facility, and sell the goods on the black market. My stomach twisted. My husband was involved in illegal activity, and my boss was his partner, and I was fired because I might have discovered their plan. I had to get a copy of this and make sure I can back up my claim. I knew how to cover my tracks. One email in particular stood out. It was a draft, unsent, addressed to a Ms. Eleanor Vance, a name I didn't recognize. The subject line read, Project Nightingale, Phase 2. The body of the email contained a single sentence. Contingency plan activated. Thompson's wife is no longer a factor. My blood ran cold. No longer a factor. Was that a threat? I found her email address on his laptop. How could I trust him now? I tracked the mislabeled shipments, cross-referenced invoices, pieced together the puzzle of their criminal enterprise. It was a complex web of deceit, involving shell corporations, fake purchase orders, and offshore bank accounts, all orchestrated by Mr. Harrison, with Jason as his willing accomplice. The scale of their operation was staggering. They were stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of goods right under the company's nose, and I, unknowingly, had been standing in their way. I confided in my sister Sarah at the hospital. Leo's condition was stable, but the worry lines etched on her face were deeper than ever. I told her everything, the firing, the emails, the stolen goods. She listened in stunned silence, her eyes wide with disbelief. Jason? Involved in something like this? I don't believe it. I wish I didn't either, I said, my voice cracking. But I saw the emails, Sarah. I saw the proof. Sarah, ever the pragmatist, urged me to go to the police. Don't try to handle this on your own, she pleaded. It could be dangerous. But I hesitated. Exposing Jason would destroy his life, our life. He would face prison time, financial ruin. And what about my marriage? Could I ever forgive him? Could I ever trust him again? What kind of life would he have behind bars? Could I live with myself, knowing I did that to him? I decided to follow the money trail. I knew where the diverted shipments were being held, a dilapidated warehouse on the outskirts of town. I drove there late one night, the rain lashing against my windshield. The place was deserted, the only sound the wind whistling through broken windows. I slipped inside, my heart pounding in my chest. The air was thick with the smell of damp cardboard and decay. Pallets of goods were stacked haphazardly, covered in tarps. I pulled back one of the tarps, revealing boxes labeled with the company logo, the same logo as the warehouse I used to work in. As I dug deeper, I found something even more disturbing. A stack of counterfeit invoices bearing my signature, or rather, a very convincing forgery of my signature. Harrison and Jason were framing me. If their scheme was ever discovered, I would be the fall guy. That night, I barely slept. I tossed and turned, haunted by the image of those forged invoices, the weight of Jason's betrayal. How could he do this to me? How could he risk everything, not just our marriage, but my freedom? The realization that he was willing to sacrifice me to protect himself cut deeper than any knife. I confronted Jason that he was waiting for me at home, his face pale and drawn. "Where were you last night?" he asked, his voice tight. "At the warehouse," I said, my voice cold. "The one where you're storing all the stolen goods." He flinched. "I don't know what you're talking about," he mumbled. "Don't lie to me, Jason," I said, my voice rising. "I know everything. The emails, the diverted shipments, the forged invoices. I know it all." "I'm sorry," he sobbed. "I didn't mean for things to go this far. I needed the money." "Needed the money," I repeated, incredulous. "For what? We were doing fine." He hesitated, then confessed. He had gambling debts, a mountain of them, hidden from me for years. He had been desperate, vulnerable. Harrison had offered him a way out, a quick fix, and Jason, blinded by desperation, had taken it. He'd gone so far down this road, he just couldn't get out. The truth was a bitter pill to swallow. My husband, the man I loved, was a gambler, a thief, a liar, and he had implicated me in his crimes. I asked him where Eleanor Vance came into all this. He said, "She's Harrison's lawyer. She helped set up the fake company accounts." He begged me for forgiveness, promised to make things right, but the damage was done. The trust was broken. Could I forgive him? Could I save our marriage? Or was it already too late? I knew then it was time to see Eleanor Vance. I found her office downtown, a sleek modern building with tinted windows and a sterile atmosphere. Ms. Vance was exactly as I expected, sharp, polished, and utterly devoid of empathy. I presented her with the evidence I had gathered, the emails, the shipment records, the forged invoices. She listened in silence, her expression unreadable. When I finished, she simply smiled. "This is all circumstantial," she said, her voice smooth and dismissive. "You have no concrete proof. And frankly, your word against theirs isn't going to hold up in court." "What about the forged invoices?" I challenged. "I can prove that's not my signature." She shrugged. "Perhaps you have a bad memory, or perhaps you're trying to frame my client. It wouldn't be the first time someone tried to extort Mr. Harrison." She then gave me a very chilling warning. She said, "You need to drop this and walk away, for your own good." I left her office shaken. Vance was right. I didn't have enough evidence to convict them, and going up against them would be risky, even dangerous. But I couldn't just walk away, not after everything they had done. I drove back to the hospital. Leo was starting to get better. He smiled when he saw me. That's when I made my decision. I couldn't protect Jason anymore. He had made his choices, and I had to make mine. I told them everything, presented them with all the evidence I had gathered. They listened intently, their faces grim. They launched an investigation, raiding the warehouse, seizing the stolen goods, and arresting Mr. Harrison and Jason. Vance tried to use her legal trickery, but they didn't have a leg to stand on. Faced with overwhelming evidence, they both confessed. Jason was sentenced to a year in prison. Harrison received a much longer sentence. Our marriage was over. I divorced him while he was behind bars. It was the hardest thing I've ever done, but I knew it was the right thing. The company where I had worked recovered the stolen goods, and I was offered my job back. With a promotion, I accepted, determined to rebuild my life. I now oversee all warehouse operations, but my life has been forever changed. About 6 months after his arrest, Jason wrote me a letter. He apologized for everything he had done, expressed remorse for his actions. He said he understood why I had to turn him in, that he deserved what was coming to him. The letter ended with a plea for forgiveness. He said he would spend the rest of his life trying to make amends. Could I forgive him? Could I ever trust him again? I am still deciding. Leo made a full recovery. He is now a rambunctious, healthy little boy. I am thankful that I was there for him when he needed me most. As for Ms. Vance, I suspect her law firm faced consequences. I never heard from her again, and I'm not sure of the details. But what I know is this: some people are willing to do anything to protect their position. Ultimately, I decided that I would forgive Jason, not for him, but for myself. Holding on to anger and resentment would only poison my own soul. Forgiveness is not about excusing his actions, but about freeing myself from the burden of his betrayal. I still don't know what the future holds, but I know I can face it with strength and resilience. I learned a valuable lesson through all of this. I cannot change the past, but I can control my own future. The world gave me lemon. I made lemonade. So what would you do? Would you have turned in your husband? Could you have forgiven him? Tell me in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more true stories of betrayal and redemption. It's been almost a year since Jason got out. He lives in a small apartment now, works at a hardware store. He seems different, humble, remorseful. He calls every week just to check in, see how I'm doing. He never asks for anything, not even forgiveness. It's unsettling, this new Jason. Part of me wants to believe he's truly changed. The other part is terrified that it's all an act. What if he's still planning something? What if I made a mistake believing him? I see him sometimes, from a distance, when I pick up Leo from school. He always waves, a sad, hopeful look in his eyes. Leo doesn't know the full story. Sarah and I decided to keep the details vague, protect him as much as possible. Leo thinks his dad made a mistake, a bad choice, and had to go away for a while. He misses Jason, asks about him often. It breaks my heart every time. I bumped into Carol, one of my old colleagues, at the grocery store last week. She used to be friendly with Jason, always flirting with him at office parties. She gave me a pitying look, a slight sneer playing on her lips. "Heard Jason's back," she said, her voice dripping with judgment. "Bet that's awkward." I just smiled and walked away. I'm not going to waste my energy explaining my life to Carol. She wouldn't understand anyway. Some people are just determined to see the worst in others. I find myself constantly second-guessing my decisions, replaying the events in my head, wondering if I could have done things differently. Maybe I should have seen the signs, been more attentive to Jason's financial problems. Maybe I could have stopped him before he got in too deep. But then again, maybe it was inevitable. Maybe some people are just destined to make bad choices. I saw Eleanor Vance again. I was at a coffee shop waiting for Sarah when she walked in. She didn't see me at first. She looked different, tired. Her hair was a mess, her clothes rumpled. She ordered a coffee, then sat down at a table alone. I considered walking over to her, confronting her, demanding an explanation. But I stopped myself. What good would it do? She was just a cog in the machine, a hired gun. She didn't care about me, about Jason, about anyone but herself. She's the kind of person that only cares about money. Watching her, I felt a strange sense of pity. Her life seemed so empty, so devoid of genuine connection. I realized that I wouldn't want to trade places with her for anything in the world. I left the coffee shop without saying a word. Sometimes, silence is the most powerful weapon. Last week, I received an anonymous package in the mail. Inside, there was a USB drive. I plugged it into my computer, my heart pounding in my chest. The drive contained a single file, a recording of a conversation between Mr. Harrison and Eleanor Vance. The conversation took place shortly after Jason and Harrison's arrest. In the recording, Vance is berating Harrison for getting caught, accusing him of incompetence. Harrison, in turn, blames Vance for providing faulty legal advice. Then, Vance says something that makes my blood run cold. "You should have taken care of the wife," she says, her voice chillingly calm. "She was the biggest threat, a simple accident, a misplaced file. There were plenty of opportunities." "Accident?" Harrison stutters, sounding genuinely shocked. "You wanted me to—" "Don't be naive, Harrison," Vance sneers. "We both knew what was at stake. Collateral damage is inevitable." I deleted the recording immediately. I felt sick to my stomach. They were willing to kill me. All that time, I thought I was only facing financial troubles. They were plotting my murder. The realization hit me like a ton of bricks. I shared the recording with Sarah, who convinced me to take it to the police. They took the evidence seriously this time. The police reopened the investigation, this time targeting Eleanor Vance. I don't know what will come of it, but at least I know that the truth is out there. What would you have done with that recording? Would you have given it to the police? Would you have kept it hidden? Every day I'm reminded of what happened, of the betrayal, of the choices I made. I see it in Leo's eyes, in Jason's hesitant phone calls, in the wary glances of my colleagues. But I also see something else. Strength, resilience, hope. The kind of hope that comes from knowing you've survived something terrible and emerged stronger on the other side. Now I'm seeing someone new, Mark, who I met at a book club. He's kind, funny, and most importantly, he doesn't have a criminal record. What started with Jason made me question every relationship, every person. Can I trust Mark? Can I really trust anyone? He knows about my past, about Jason, about everything. He doesn't judge me. He listens. He supports me. He reminds me that I am worthy of love, of happiness, of a second chance. With Mark, I feel like I still have nightmares sometimes. Dreams of warehouses and forged invoices and cold, empty eyes. But they are becoming less frequent, less vivid. I'm learning to let go of the past, to forgive myself for my mistakes. I am learning to trust again. Life is not perfect. There will always be challenges, setbacks, betrayals. But I'm not the same person I was a year ago. I am stronger, wiser, more resilient. And I'm determined to live my life to the fullest, to embrace every opportunity, to cherish every moment, even the difficult ones. The 1-year anniversary of Jason's release is coming up. He asked to see me, just for coffee, he said, to talk, to apologize one last time. I haven't decided yet if I will go. Part of me wants to refuse, to shut him out of my life completely. The other part is curious, wants to see if he's truly changed. What would you do? Would you meet him, or would you move on? Perhaps closure is something I owe myself. Or maybe that hope is a dangerous thing that will lead me back to a place I do not belong. Either way, I have to be prepared to face that choice. The thought of seeing him after all this time brings a mix of emotions. Anxiety, anger, a strange sort of longing. Maybe I am drawn to the chaos. Or maybe there is nothing left to be afraid of. Because no matter what happens when I see him, I know I'm strong enough to handle it. He's no longer the person who defines my life, just someone who existed in it. And that is a freedom I never thought I would have. The coffee shop was crowded, the air thick with the smell of burnt coffee and awkward silence. I spotted Jason sitting at a table in the corner, his head bowed, his hands clasped tightly in his lap. He looked even thinner than I remembered, his face gaunt, his eyes filled with a deep sadness. He saw me and stood up, a hesitant smile on his face. "Hey," he said, his voice barely a whisper. "Thanks for coming." I sat down opposite him, the silence stretching between us like a taut wire. I noticed he wasn't wearing a wedding ring, which seemed appropriate. "So," I said, trying to sound casual. "How are you?" he shrugged. "Okay, I guess. Working, trying to stay out of trouble." He looked down at his hands, avoiding my gaze. I wanted to say, "I'm really sorry," he mumbled. "For everything, for what I did to you, to Leo, to our marriage." I nodded, but said nothing. What was there to say? "I know it's not enough," he continued, his voice cracking. "But I promise, I'm trying to be a better person. I'm going to therapy, and I know I hurt you in our marriage." He paused, seemingly afraid to look at me. "I just wanted you to know that I regret everything, every single thing." I met his eyes, searching for any sign of deceit. But all I saw was remorse, genuine, heartfelt remorse. Maybe he really had changed. Maybe prison had changed him. Or maybe he was just a good actor. I honestly couldn't tell. "I need to ask you something," he said, his voice trembling slightly. "Can you ever forgive me? Not for us, not for our marriage, but for yourself. I think I'm doing what I can, but there is this weight I am carrying around, and it doesn't feel like I am the only one carrying it." I looked at him and thought about all the pain, the anger, the resentment that I had carried around for so long. Forgiveness wasn't about letting him off the hook. It was about freeing myself from the weight of the past. It was for me, not for him. I let out a deep breath, and I answered, "I forgive you, Jason." "What would you have said in my place? Could you have forgiven him?" His eyes filled with tears. "Thank you," he whispered. "Thank you." We sat in silence for a few moments, the tension slowly dissipating. Then he smiled, a genuine smile this time. "So," he said, "how's Leo? Does he still like dinosaurs?" I smiled back. "He's great, and yes, he's still obsessed with dinosaurs. He can name them all." It was surprisingly easy, like we were old friends catching up. The anger and resentment that had consumed me for so long began to fade away, replaced by a sense of peace. I realized that I could never erase the past, but I could choose to move on, and I could choose to forgive. As I stood to leave, Jason reached out and took my hand. "Thank you again," he said, "for everything." I squeezed his hand, then turned and walked away. As I walked away, I looked back for a moment. I saw him still sitting there. I let the moment sink in. That part of my life was, I recently got a promotion at work. I'm now a regional manager, overseeing several warehouses. It's a challenging job, but I love it. I'm good at it. I'm the best person that I can be. I still think about Mr. Harrison sometimes, about his greed, his betrayal. I don't understand how someone could be so driven by money, so willing to hurt others for personal gain. I suppose some people are just wired that way. It's sad. I made some new friends through my book club. It's nice to have people in my life who aren't connected to my past. It's refreshing. Mark is still wonderful. We are planning a vacation this summer, just the two of us. I'm actually excited. I haven't felt like this in years. Lately, Leo has been asking more questions about Jason. He wants to know why he made those bad choices, why he had to go away. Sarah and I have tried to be honest with him, without scaring him or burdening him with too much information. I think he understands on some level, but it still makes me sad. I hate that Leo has to deal with this, that his father made such terrible mistakes. He's a bright boy and does not deserve any of this. One day I'll tell him the whole story when he's old enough to understand. But for now, I'll just try to protect him, to love him, to be the best mother I can be. I received a letter from Jason a few weeks ago. He said he was doing well, that he had a steady job, and was actively working to be a better person. He said that he thinks about Leo every day, and that he hopes one day he can earn his forgiveness. He also said that he was proud of me, of everything I had accomplished. He said he knew I was strong, that I could overcome anything. Reading his letter, I felt a strange mix of emotions. Sadness, forgiveness, and something else, a flicker of hope. Maybe, just maybe, he could truly redeem himself. Maybe one day, Leo could have a relationship with his father. It's a long shot, I know. But I'm not going to rule it out. I am not going to be negative. I am going to choose to be hopeful. Life is full of surprises. A few months ago, I was contacted by a journalist. He was writing a story about corporate crime, and he had heard about my case. He wanted to interview me, to share my story with the world. I hesitated at first. I wasn't sure if I wanted to relive the past, to expose myself to public scrutiny. But then I realized that my story could help others. It could warn them about the dangers of greed, the importance of integrity, the power of forgiveness. So I agreed to the interview. The article was published last week. It was well written, fair, and accurate. I received hundreds of messages from people all over the world, thanking me for sharing my story, telling me that I had inspired them. It was overwhelming. I learned that by sharing my story, I could help make the world a little bit better. The process was cathartic and was a part of my recovery. I still have bad days. Days when I feel angry, betrayed, and lost. Days when I wonder if I will ever truly heal. But then I remember how far I've come, how much I've overcome. I remember the support of my family, the love of my friends, the resilience of my spirit, and I know that I will be okay. I am a survivor. I am strong. I am worthy. And I am not alone. The other day, Leo came home from school with a drawing. It was a picture of a family, a mother, a father, and a child, holding hands. "Who are these people?" I asked, my voice catching in my throat. "That's us," he said, pointing to the figures. "You, me, and Daddy." My heart ached. I didn't know what to say. "It's okay to miss him," I said, hugging him tightly. "He loves you very much." He hugged me back, then ran off to play. I stared at the drawing, tears welling up in my eyes. It was a reminder of what we had lost, of what could have been. But it was also a reminder of the love that still remained. Maybe one day we could be a family again. Not the same family, but a new one, built on forgiveness and understanding. I started volunteering at a local soup kitchen. It's been an enlightening experience. It's helped me to see the world from a new perspective, to appreciate what I have. It's also given me a sense of purpose, a feeling that I'm making a difference. I met some incredible people there. People who have faced far greater challenges than I have. People who have lost everything, but still managed to smile, to laugh, to offer a helping hand. They have inspired me, and I am grateful for their friendship. Mark and I have been talking about getting married. I am still hesitant. The thought of committing myself to someone again, of opening myself up to that kind of vulnerability, terrifies me. But Mark is patient, understanding. He doesn't pressure me. He just tells me that he loves me, that he will always be there for me. The idea of getting married and starting over with someone new seems daunting. But then again, the happiness I feel with Mark outweighs the fear. I decided to take a chance. I said yes. What would you have done? Would you have been able to trust again? Sarah has been my rock through all of this. She has always been there for me, offering support, advice, and a shoulder to cry on. She's been my confidant, my protector, my best friend. I don't know what I would have done without her. Our bond is stronger than ever. She is the best sister anyone could ask for, and I am so lucky to have her in my life. She plans on throwing me a party. Sarah met someone new herself. His name is David, and he's a carpenter. He's kind, funny, and incredibly talented. They seem very happy together, and I am thrilled for her. I'm looking forward to celebrating her happiness. It feels like things are... Eleanor Vance never faced charges for her involvement in the embezzlement scheme, or for her suggestion that Harrison take care of me. She moved to another state, changed her name, and started a new life. I know this because I hired a private investigator to track her down. I wasn't seeking revenge. I just wanted to know what happened to her, to see if she had faced any consequences for her actions. I have to let her go, and I need to be happy. I've decided not to pursue her. I just want to move on with my life. She may not have paid for her crimes in a court of law, but I believe she will pay for them in other ways. Guilt, regret, and fear will haunt her for the rest of her life. Karma will get her. And in the end, that's punishment enough. The wedding preparations are in full swing. Sarah is in charge of everything, and she's doing an amazing job. I'm feeling overwhelmed, but also incredibly happy. I can't believe I'm actually doing this. I can't believe I'm giving love a second chance. The wedding will be small, intimate, with just our closest friends and family. We're getting married in a garden, surrounded by flowers. It will be perfect. I've chosen a simple white dress. It's elegant, understated, and it makes me feel beautiful. Leo will be the ring bearer. He's so excited. He keeps practicing his walk, making sure he doesn't drop the rings. I know he'll do a great job. We haven't told Leo about Mark yet. We wanted to wait until after the wedding, until we were officially a family. I'm nervous about how he will react. I hope he will accept Mark, that he will see how much Mark loves me and how much he cares about him. I talked to Jason about Mark. I wanted to give him a heads up to prepare him for the news. He was surprisingly understanding. He said he just wanted me to be happy. He said that if Mark makes me happy, then he is happy too. He also asked if he could talk to Leo, to explain things to him in his own words. I agreed. I think it's important for them to have a relationship, even if it's just a distant one. I'm not sure if that's the right decision, but I need to stay strong and hope for the best. The wedding day has arrived. I woke up early, feeling a mix of excitement and nerves. Sarah came over to help me get ready. We drank champagne, laughed, and reminisced about old times. It was exactly what I needed. As I walked down the aisle, I saw Mark standing at the end, smiling at me. He looked so handsome, so loving. I felt a wave of emotion wash over me. It was the happiest moment of my life. We said our vows, exchanged rings, and became husband and wife.